come on down to Highbury, you can see Thierry Henry. He is the best player you will ever see. Thierry Henry. Now if you come on down to Highbury.
Hello and welcome back to ANR's Super Sunday Q&A live with me, and you saw Ryan there just for 1 second, but he's just gone again for one moment. And here he is again.
Sorry, the screen froze.
How are you doing, Ryan? You had a good week?
Yeah, good week. Tired after last night. A late, obviously, as you know, or a very late, very, very late night, because obviously watching the game last night, or this morning, technically, and didn't get to bed till 4:30 this morning.
Oh, God. You're better than me, because I didn't stay up for it, mate. I was just, I was already tired by about 10, 11 o'clock, so I went upstairs, up the wooden stairs to Bedfordshire, that sort of time. But yeah, I sort of seen it back this morning, and another brilliant performance.
That's one so far this season with one more game before the season starts as well.
I'll tell you, I'd be really happy with another performance like that on Saturday when we get down to the Emirates. I can't wait for that, to get back to the Emirates and see some friends and sample it all. It's going to be fantastic. Hopefully we can bump into each other while I'm down there.
Yeah.
And have a really good day. So yeah, I mean, some great performances last night, weren't there?
Yeah, it was just refreshing to see that. Literally, not only was our start really, really good in terms of we dictated the tempo of the game, we dominated, we actually got in their faces, we looked a threat every time we going forward, and then defensively led the ball. We didn't look like we were going to crap the bed, so to say, and let a sloppy goal in. We looked solid, united and solid throughout. And even when the subs were made, when it went 3-0, and they started messing about and bringing more players on and all that, it continued. The flow continued. It didn't disrupt the flow at all for once. And you could, to a man, every player turned up last night. Not one of them. There's not one you could say was being carried by the other 10 players.
No, definitely. Another good game for William Saliba. I think I'm right in saying that him and Gabriel were the only players that played the full 90.
I believe so, because Ramsdale got subbed off for Turner. I think Saliba stopped. Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White, I think, went off for Cedric. I think now.
I think I'm well. It might be wrong, but I saw it on Twitter. I think someone put on there that they were the only.
The only two. Because all the others.
So
and that's what I'm saying. And even with all them subs, as you say, apart from the two people that played the whole match, the flow never stopped. The continuous aggression and wanting to score more and really put it to Chelsea was actually refreshing to see, especially we've got one more game before the season starts now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Russ has put a comment in the chat box. Welcome, Russ. Lovely to see you, mate. Tierney's going to have a massive job getting into this side at left back, and I mean,
Zinchenko there now,
I don't. I think when Tierney is fit and firing and on all cylinders, which hopefully will be not in the not too distant future, then there's a really good chance that, I really think that it'll be not a case of one or the other who will play. I think that Zinchenko's got a fantastic chance of playing and the left 8 role, and Tierney slotting in at left back, and it'll be Granit who had a great game yesterday. And I've got to give that some love. That sort of assist he had for the Saka goal, where he chested it, volleyed it over with his left foot over the player, and volleyed it towards goal with his right foot. It was sublime, absolutely sublime. But I think his place in the starting lineup would also be under threat from Zinchenko, like I've said before in previous shows. So it's just great to have the depth, great to have that depth available again, and not have to worry about who's missing out so much, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've said this this morning. We're doing the stream this morning. For the game, it's nice if you look at the recruitment more so this summer. The players that we brought in, obviously apart from Matt as a goalkeeper, all the other players we're bringing in, they can naturally. There's not like hit and miss. Have played there, hit and miss once in a blue moon. They can naturally play in like the 3 to 4 positions. Fabio Vieira can play anywhere across the front 4 apparently. False 9, right wing, left wing, and the cam. You've got obviously Zinchenko's coming. He can play left mid, centre mid, and left back. I'm trying to think now, buddy. I know. Trying to think now. My brain's gone to mush. Jesus can play anywhere across the front 3. Obviously, it does look like he's going to play more as actually out and out striker. But when called upon, he can play either side of the wing as well. It's that versatility. And I think that's what the main thing we've addressed in terms of not just adding players for the sake of it. It's if at any point during the season, especially we've got a World Cup and all that malarkey coming at the end of this season, and probably cause some injuries along the way, especially in the aftermath of it, because he's only got a week to prepare for that return on Boxing Day. We've got players that I say they'll be in their natural position where they feel comfortable in, that their first choice position. But if there was an injury here and there, we're not going to be like we were back in March, April when Partey and Tierney got injured. We're thinking, no, we're bare bones now. We've got 4 to 5 players now that can play and fill them sort of voids. So, for example, if we had Zinchenko last season, for example, he could have come in and covered a Tierney or Partey's position. You've got Granit Xhaka wouldn't have had to play left back against Brighton at home.
Exactly.
It's a massive help because we can play players like Xhaka only comfortable in one position, i.e. the position he plays. When he is available, he can basically he plays there. But if there's an injury elsewhere, like left back, he hasn't got to fear now going, oh, balls, I've now got to play left back where I'm not comfortable in, where I can't utilise my abilities in. We've actually got suitable backup now.
Absolutely, and Marquinhos has been getting some good minutes as well.
Yeah, Marquinhos as well. He's another versatile player, but yeah, he's been. I'm impressed with him actually for a 19-year-old as well.
Yeah, he's certainly built like a brick outhouse, isn't he?
He doesn't look 19 either, by the way.
He got literally wrestled to the floor by bloody hell, the Chelsea left back.
Alonso, I think it was.
Alonso, that's right. Yeah, he had to literally drag him to the floor like a rugby tackle, didn't he, to stop him going past him? And I mean, Tavares has been getting some half decent, reviews, saying he's been playing decent in pre-season. How did he play?
I think he came on. He did. To be honest, with Chelsea last night, didn't do too bad actually. That's what I'm saying. There weren't anyone, even the subs that came on, that were getting carried. He literally came on. You would have thought, being how out there it is with his weaknesses and all that, and how he's slowly adapting into the league and this, that, and the other, that even when he came on, or when he was playing, that'll be where they'll be targeting. They'll be targeting him as a weak point. They didn't really target. Chelsea didn't really target him. It was sort of. It made his job. It made his job a lot easier because obviously he's not getting targeted. He's not getting forced into making mistakes.
No,
it's good for confidence-wise because it rebuilds his confidence up. It stays or leaves in terms of going out on loan, or he stays put. You need him to be confident, whether he is at Arsenal or on loan. You need him to be confident to build when he does get called upon the minutes. Like, if I'm being brutally honest, I'd rather, because of this 5 subs, you've got the World Cup this year as well. Plus, we're in Europa League on a Thursday night. Obviously, depending on what our group stage draw is going to be like, I'd rather keep Tavares solely for the early stages of the League Cup and Europa League, the group stage.
Yeah.
Zinchenko and when Tierney does come back, Zinchenko and Tierney, that respite, they can just solely concentrate on being starters all playing in the Premier League.
Well, let's face facts, right? You go on to a club on loan, you have to adapt to that club and start the training and sort of integrate yourself within the squad. It could take you 3 or 4 weeks to finally sort of break into starting a game.
Yeah.
And by the time he's done that, you know, you're only, 8 weeks away from the World Cup at the most. So if he stayed with us and played those games in the Europa League group stage and the cup competition, he probably would play more games or just about the same amount of games as he would do on loan, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't got the adaptation period, and plus you never know, God forbid, touch wood, we might need him during that period as well in Premier League games as well, so he might play even more. But I think it'd be well worth a while to keep him until the World Cup and then see how it goes. So, however, you know, if the option of a really good loan, like the Atalanta one, is a strong rumour, they've come back in for him again, I believe. I mean, that would be a really good club for him, really, with the way that they play football. And we'll have to see how it goes. But, yeah, we've said this loads of times before, but I wouldn't be upset at all about keeping him until January. We have to promise with Colonel, he put a question in last week, and we said we'd start with it this week, and he's added a few more onto it. And welcome, Colonel. You are in the chat now, so nice to see you, mate. He said about some fantasy fights that he seems obsessed with, which is great. Now, the one he left us with last week, I believe, was Big Blue Bear versus Basil Brush. Now, I have to admit, I had to Google Big Blue Bear because I didn't have a clue who it was. But the clue is in the name, big. Yeah. And I think all he would have to do is literally sit on Basil Brush and he'd kill him because of the size of him. I don't think Basil's little arms and legs. And
it depends how fast and agile Basil is.
Yeah, but Basil is quite an old dude. Let me tell you now. My money would definitely be on Big Blue Bear. I don't know whether you have seen Big Blue Bear or not. You know who he is. But
more some brothers old enough around that time. He was Disney Channel years. Yeah, he was like killing all that. So he'd always be on the fucking during the week and all that, just randomly. But yeah, as you say, the clue's in the title, Big Blue Bear built up a brick house basically. He'll just wander over so slowly to go by accident.
I don't think the size of the fella, I don't think Basil Brush would be able to lay a glove on him. We'll run through the other ones quickly that he put kindly on the tweet, Colonel. He said, Helga from Hey Arnold versus Angelica from Rugrats. Now, Helga's another one that I had to Google because I don't have a clue. I do know Angelica from Rugrats. Angelica is one of these horrible, spoiled little brats. Yeah. I don't think she's that hard. Whereas Helga from Hey Arnold, just judging by her pictures that I've seen on Google, looks like a hard bastard. So I would put my money on Helga any day of the week whatsoever. I think Angelica is one of these girls that would sort of give it all the lip, and then as soon as anyone went towards her, she'd go running back and crying to her mum, to be honest with you.
I think with Angelica, she's more cunning, though. She'll get someone else to do the dirty work for her.
She'll hire a hitman. Get some ruffians to rough her up in a dark alley somewhere.
And this week, we're ruining everyone's childhood this week.
Dracula versus Terminator. I think it's got to be Terminator because Dracula's bites.
Yeah, Dracula
wouldn't get through all the metal.
He's got the Terminator has no blood. It's literally
exactly
a robot, an indestructible machine.
Exactly, yeah. So I've got to go for Terminator on that one. And the final one is funny, made me laugh. Mr. Bean protecting his teddy versus Jackie Chan.
I wonder who would miss one. Martial arts. Mr. Bean. Jackie gets one. It's been realistic. It's Jackie Chan all day long. He'd
kill him with one finger.
Yeah,
kill him with one finger.
Yeah.
You're just waiting for Mr. Bean to tire himself out. Right, so thanks a lot for those, Colonel. Made me laugh. Russ put a question in the chat. Do you see us buying a specialist midfielder this window? I'll let you go first on that one.
I think the only midfielder looks like we're linked with, that we're heavily going for, apparently, is Tielemans. And I think I've said that before. I've said before that in terms of midfielders, as I say, it looks like the Tielemans is the guy we are heavily wanting to bring in through the door. That's going to be probably more near the end of the window, but I don't know. And he is, in terms of, would you class him as a specialist midfielder? He's only one position.
No, not really. He could play 6 or an 8, to be honest with you.
So in that answer, I'll say no, but we are in terms of a specialist midfielder. Because, as I say, this whole window, apart from Matt Turner coming in as a goalkeeper, all our players have that versatility about them. They can play in multiple parts of either midfield, defence, or attack.
Yeah, absolutely. I think exactly the same. I do think we will get Tielemans. I do. I wish we'd just go and get it done, but I can see it dragging out a little while. But I do think we'll end up getting him.
I think I said it last week on the show on my channel that because it's so out there over the last 12, 13 months that Tielemans was out of Leicester, and then in the last 6 months since he heard that Arsenal was interested, he's told Leicester since January that he wants to come to us. We hold all the cards. Leicester don't have a leg to stand on. Hence why it's dragging out, because they're trying to demand now 30, 35 million. But initially it was 25. Whereas I say no, 25. It's 25. We've got a year left on his contract. He wants to come to us. He wants to leave in general. And this whole argument of them trying to drag the price up so they can have more money to go and get someone else. They've had a whole year to organise this for themselves. I have no sympathy for them. And for once, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Arsenal. They're not taking any nonsense from anyone in terms of incomings or outgoings. This is our price for incoming or outgoing. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. We're going to look elsewhere, and we'll come back to you later. And then, as I say, in this situation, we hold all the cards. Us and Arsenal and Tielemans hold all the cards here. So,
I mean, I totally agree with everything you just said. But I personally, I still think that 30 million quid is a decent price for a player of such quality at his age. So if it's a case of quibbling over 2 or 3 million quid or whatever, just trying to drag it out to the end of the window, I think it's worthwhile getting him in sooner rather than later and paying the 30 million. Just so we've got him for the start of the season, or as close as to the start of the season as possible.
I was thinking about it now, actually, just because obviously we've got Leicester, second game of the season, haven't we? First home game. How much of a shithousing move would it be for us to get this Sevilla game out of the way, and obviously opening night out of the way against Palace, and get the deal for Tielemans done on literally the build up to that Leicester game? It gives them no time. It gives them literally, they've got nothing planned or brought in to replace him.
Yeah, I know.
We've strengthened, we've weakened them, and they haven't had that time to go, okay, you're gone, we've got someone else in.
Yeah, that'd be really funny.
If Arsenal do that, I'll take my hats off to them. I'll never criticise Arsenal.
So yeah, thanks for that question. That was a good one as well, Russ. Colonel said, what player would you sign to give us maximum potential for top 4? For me, out of everyone that we've been linked with, it's got to be Sane, I think, personally. A player of that quality up front, I think nothing ever will guarantee you top 4. But like Colonel said, I think that really would give us the maximum potential to get there, personally. Yeah. I think that'd be a real game changer.
And you've got to think his 2 previous clubs have been Bayern Munich, as it's saying, Bayern Munich and Man City, 2 clubs that have that installed that winning mentality into his career. he ain't going to then come to Arsenal and that mentality just be knocked out of him. He's going to, like with Jesus, like with Zinchenko, who, by the way, will have a bond themselves because they played with each other before. Also, he knows what the league's all about. He doesn't need time to adapt or readapt.
He must have won the league every single season, maybe apart from one.
Yeah,
whatever club he's been to.
Yeah, and again that it brings that winning mentality that we have needed for years. And again, I don't care what anyone says, a Man City ex-player or not, Bayern Munich as well. We keep complaining. We want winners in our squad. Well, so we have to then go to these clubs that have this mentality already and nick some of their players to reinstall that back into our club again, to bring back them glory days.
Yet another player, as if I don't know if it was last week, that really knows Arteta well, really respects Arteta, credits Arteta for bringing him through, making him the player that he is today.
Yeah.
So there's no surprises there with Mikel Arteta. If you go in and bought him, there's no issues with regards to personality, character, quality that he knows that he's got. He was settling straight away, same as Zinchenko and Jesus. So yeah, I think it'd be fantastic. I really do. And Melvin, just going back in the comments a little bit, says that Marquinhos reminds him of a young Gnabry. So, good impression of Louis Walsh there, Melvin. It reminds me of a young Serge Gnabry, thought it was. Russ said Zinchenko looks like an absolute steal. I couldn't agree more. I think it's an absolute bargain when you consider that Martinez could cost Man United 67 million quid. He's going to have to go a long way to be... First off, he's going to have to go a long way to be anywhere half as good as Zinchenko in the Premier League. I know he's a good player, but he's not proven in the Premier League yet. But more than double the money potentially. It's just, I know who'd I'd rather have in my team.
Also, Zinchenko's got 6 to 7 years of Premier League experience, as you say, at Man City. He doesn't need that time to adapt. He's as I say, he knows the league inside out. And another thing that I like to hear, I've loved to have heard about in the last few days is that when Arteta was working as as assistant coach of Pep at Man City, he was praising that Zinchenko's work ethic. He was always the first man on the training pitch and the last man off. He'd always be the commitment. Was one of the key factors why Arteta wanted to bring him into the club to reinstall, absolutely. Obviously, all the things he's been trying to install since he came through the doors back in nearly 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I love him already. I think
to sort of reaffirm that the Aubameyangs of this world, them sort of players aren't going to be welcome at this club.
No.
The ones that are sort of half-hearted, sort of in their training methods and all that malarkey. You want people that are going to literally work their nuts off, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Welcome to Victoria as well. Got your questions here, Victoria, in the WhatsApp group chat. Thank you ever so much. Brilliant questions. I'll be coming up to them very shortly. And welcome to you as well, Ray. Nice to see you in the chat. If you've got any questions, Ray, please pop them in there so we can ask them. Just going in order of the questions that I received on the WhatsApp group. First off was Russ saying, where do you see Vieira fitting into this side? I personally think he's going to be, we've already said this, and it's not a cop-out, but he's a very, a versatile player. I think he's going to play where required, but I can see him giving Saka a rest. I know that people think he's much more of an Odegaard, sort of challenging Odegaard for his place on that side, more deeper in midfield, if you like. I do really see him as well, also giving Saka a rest for playing in the front three on the right-hand side. I don't know about you.
Well, this is the thing I was saying earlier about the versatility of these players bringing in. And obviously mentioning Fabio playing that he can play anywhere across the front, the attacking force, and basically in terms of right wing, left wing, false nine or the Odegaard role / Smith Rowe role. But most of his gameplay came last season at Porto was on the right wing, from what I've been told. And as you say, in terms of versatility, it makes sense that if anything, in certain games here and there, to ease him in, he'll be there to ease the pressure off Saka and let Saka have that bit of respite here and there, just to sort of as he eases himself in. And then over time, we'll see what the plan is with him from Arteta long term, once we know he's settled and he's ready to kick on. But it's not just because he's playing at the right wing as well, doesn't mean he's going to be running down the line and all that. He can cut in and drift in and things like that, and be the cam, but on the right hand side as well. Sort of change the formation up a bit, where him and Odegaard are working together on that side of things and splitting the defences, and that will benefit massively his lots of Jesus and all that. And if
definitely.
And also, it benefits them both for doing things like that. It'll benefit them both because one of them push forward slightly with Jesus, opening more spaces up, and it'll create more goal opportunities for both players.
Yeah, and he's got the backing of our star right back, of course. You probably saw Cedric. He absolutely loves him, doesn't he? He says the quality that interview he gave. So that says it all for me. But no, to be really truthful, he's one of the most players I'm really curious about. I can't wait to see him play and see what he can do for the team, and where Mikel Arteta thinks that he's going to really add value to the team. So that's going to be really, really interesting. And Victoria, this is a really interesting one. She said, last night the crowd was singing North London Forever loud and proud. Do you like it as an anthem? And she's added, it seems to be dividing the fans. Now, is it dividing the fans? I mean, to me personally, I absolutely love it, Victoria. I don't know about you, but I think it sounds great. And I really, really like the song. And I think it could be a long-term anthem. I'd love it to be. That's my question. Now, asking back to you, Victoria, if you're still there with us, is it dividing the fans in the stadium, though? Because I see the fans in the stadium, like you said, singing it loud and proud. Or is it coming from social media that you're seeing a bit of a divide? Because I see it coming across really well in the stadiums. And I would love us to be able to have, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years time in the Champions League, us fans belting it out in the same sort of way that obviously Liverpool have got You Never Walk Alone, and the cameras are always on the crowd singing it, and we've all got our scarves in the air. We're singing that song. I think it would be fantastic. What about you? I hope that it's purely just some people on social media that are showing a bit of a divide, and not the people in the stadiums. I mean, what's your thoughts, Ryan?
Well, again, we've only been using it in terms of here over in the UK. We've only been using it since about 3 games before the end of the season, wasn't it? The league going onwards, in terms of actually in the stadium and all that. And from what I've made up now, is at the Everton game, in the stadium, it's well received. No one's complaining or nothing about it from where I'm sitting and all that. We've seen videos as well of match goers going into the Tonington, the pins and all that, and singing it and chanting it, or filming themselves singing it and all that before and after the games. So obviously there'll be a few, because it's new. That's the thing, because it's so new within the club itself. Because we've always, even at Highbury, we never really had an anthem at Highbury, did we? It was always, we had our chants and all that, but there was never like a Liverpool-esque soul anthem like we've seen for years. And as I said, this is completely new, so there'll be certain fans that will be a bit about it, but as time goes on and it becomes more of a thing at the club in general, it'll be more accepted wholly from all fans, all walk of life. Basically, it's just that getting used to that. There's something new, basically. Like you do, if any aspect enough, something new comes along, some people will be a bit antsy about it, but after it becomes accustomed, basically, and it is a part of the way the match day experience, it becomes the divide doesn't really get spoke about really then, and people will be more accepting of it and then getting more involved in it. And yeah, I mean, let's say we said it. I think when it first got brought into the club, the way it was. I think it was what you said in the next 3 to 4 years or so, on the Champions League nights and I think on match day nights itself, having the whole 60,000 capacity stadium, singing that, helping making that place a fortress, because it has been really refreshing to hear that the United match day going fans singing that, not just a small section but the entire stadium when I've been there for the Everton game, etc. And obviously seeing the fans in the States with like of Roberto and all that, filming themselves with the fans in the background singing all these songs, including that song as well last night. It can't do no harm. It is unique to us because it is about literally our area of North London. It is everything, all the lyrics, it all links into the area where Arsenal's based.
Yeah,
it's not like it's a random North London forever. It could be adopted by Tottenham, for example. It's not like that. And another thing about this, as I was saying about the anthem side of things, we've never really had it, because ever since even when we moved to the Emirates, we've had songs pumped into the stadium in terms of what was it, The Wonder of You, when we first moved in there.
Exactly. Sorry to cut in there, but it's an ideal time because Russ has put. I was thinking a song as an anthem has to be organic. I think it's been a bit forced, if I'm being honest, and I don't agree, Russ, though, because it wasn't forced on us by the club. These songs that Ryan was just talking about there, like The Wonder of You and so on, and Sweet Caroline, God forbid, if I have to hear that song once more, I swear to God. And if people knew what it was actually about, for crying out loud, then,
Yeah.
But those songs are forced on us, Russ. This one grew organically. Yes, it was by social media, but it had to start somewhere. Somewhat, an Arsenal fan suggested it, and it grew from there. The love for the song.
Yeah, it's as I say, it grew from the social.
Not from Arsenal.
No, the only reason that Arsenal took it on is because they saw the social media positive side of it that they're seeing from social media. And that's what, invited him in, had a chat with him. The very next home match day, they tried it out, and it was a success in their eyes, and they've continued it, and it looks like they are going to continue it into this season coming. And as I say, over time, once you get more accustomed, because it is, as I keep saying, it is this anthem, as in a club anthem, it's completely new to us. As I say, we've always had songs pumped into soundtracks pumped into the stadium as players are coming out and all that. Wonder of You, Sweet Caroline, London's Calling, etc., etc. We've always wanted to have something unique to us. We've always said this to the club, even before Kroenkes came along, and then even since, and they've become majority shareholders and then the full owners. We've always said that our main thing is these songs that our players are coming out to, as players come out, the songs that are getting pumped into, they're not unique to us. They're not.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just another song, basically. We need something that makes the fans want to get involved, which is, again, that's what this is doing. The fans are getting involved in this. And by that, making the Emirates a fortress again.
Exactly.
Like Harvey was.
Exactly. And Russ has just said, sorry, to be clear, forced by social media, as Victoria alluded to. And yeah, but the thing is, though, it was not forced, but it was, first off, obviously he's an Arsenal fan himself, the guy who sings it, Louis Dunford, which is great. And secondly, it was grown by a social media backing, but it was Arsenal fans that were pushing that. So that's what matters to me. I know that it was forced on the stadium-going fans as such, but it was forced on by Arsenal fans and not the club. So that's why it doesn't feel forced as far as I'm concerned, because at least it came from the fan base. You know, it grew from the fan base, and the club adopted it because of the fan base. So, and at the end of the day, like I said, going right back to the beginning, I love the song, first off as well. So, yeah, and Victoria agrees. She hates Sweet Caroline, and she would like us to play in black all the time so we could be Goth FC. So, and Melvin said, "The wonder of you. Are you sure?" And Russ wants more wrestling music pre-match. I'll tell you what I do like. I do like the game by the Motorhead song. Who's that for? I can't remember what wrestler that was for now. Someone used to come out to time to play the game. That was good anyway. I like that one. So yeah, let's just move back on to get some of these more questions asked. Victoria asked another really, really good one, which was, should controversial replays of VAR moments be played in the stadium, or do you think it causes bad feeling / trouble? That's a really interesting one. I personally think it's great. I mean, I know that they are worried about causing violence between sets of fans and so on and so forth, but I just think it adds to the atmosphere, good or bad, and that's what we're all at football for. You know, the tension, the great moments between your own fan bases, the taking a piss out the opposition fan bases, and even when things are against you, it just all adds to it. I know that there is that potential for a flare up, but I think they should. I think I'm happy that they are played. I don't know about you.
For me, I'll be all for it, because again, this is another thing we've since VAR has been introduced to the Premier League in England. Match-going fans it's always felt that the match-going fans are sort of second fault. They're basically the only ones that really know what's going on no matter where you are, what can you support. When there's a VAR incident being looked into, as a fan, you have no idea what they're actually looking at. There's no communication. There's nothing on the screen. There's nothing. It's just like potential penalty shout, for example, or potential offside. But you don't know where exactly they're looking. You don't know what they're looking at, what part of the play they're looking at. And the only people that know that, apart from the referees and the people that are running it, and it's the people at home watching it at home. It's sort of that, as I say, it sort of feels like the match-going fans are sort of that. They're sort of thought of as you're there, you've paid your money, but you're there, sort of thing. Be thankful, basically. I think controversial moments or not, they should show us on the screen, not just afterwards, but in the moment, to show us on the screens what exactly is going on, so we all know straight from the off. We know straight from the off what the situation is, what you're looking at, why you've come to said decision, and then go from that. Yeah, you have to if it goes against you, you're the home team, it goes against you. You know what? You're gonna get you're gonna get the fucking moany fans. You get them now. We don't see it, so you still get. What was it, New Year's Day, with that whole penalty for Man City when it was 1-0 to Arsenal. We went. They got the penalty to get back into the game. I was there. We didn't have a clue what they were looking at, and because it obviously went against us the way it did, we were like, what's he on? What's he done? And we've gone home. We've seen it. We're thinking, how's that a pen? But at the end of the day, if that had been shown in the moment, there would have been a bit of controversial kicking off in terms of fans moaning and being like and doing what they did in the end, like chanting to the ref, you don't know what you're doing. But at least we know then. At least we can say we've seen it in the moment. We know why they've come to the decision that they've come to, instead of just second guessing things in the moment, and having to wait to get home an hour or two later, depending on how far we've travelled from.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many stadium going fans, match going fans. So I left in the dark regarding VAR, and that they are obviously the ones there paying the good money to be there, standing there, and shouldn't be kept in the dark. They should be fully informed, just as the television watching fans are as well. So, yeah, I totally all for it. Moving on to the next question, so we can get through. He's on, by the way, Triple H. It was that walked out to the game, and I do remember now because my kids very, very briefly were into wrestling when they were younger. The wrestling figures, the expensive wrestling figures that lasted about 5 minutes. And yeah, I remember it was Triple H now. You mentioned it, thanks for that. And Ray's put a question in. What player do we need to bring into next and why? Also, how impressed have you been with us bringing most of our signings in early?
I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, I still would like us to, as we mentioned earlier, bring in Tielemans. I do think we still need that role filling with a bit more depth. Even though we've got Zinchenko now, who can play there as well, I still think we need an overall better base of all our midfield options, basically. So I would love him to get in. And I've been massively impressed about us bringing in our signings early. It's so unlike Arsenal. It's unbelievable. And does this mean we're finally getting our act together all round with our recruitment? I just think if we can improve on now selling as a club, I would have no issues at the moment, which is a really weird feeling with regards to Arsenal and how it's being run. It would just be so unusual, wouldn't it? So we just need to prove that we can become a much better club at selling players. But yeah, I've been massively impressed at us bringing in our signings early. I would love us to bring in 2 more players, like say, like a Sane type player. Gakpo is being mentioned again, which I've been really happy with as well. And like a Tielemans or someone very similar to him.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, again, I said back in the last season that while doing our last show and before we went off on a little breaks, that I wanted, for once, I just wanted Arsenal to go out, don't mess about, don't drag every signing out till it's death and everyone gets bored and just like, oh, it's signed, but fantastic. But you dragged it out too much, we're not excited anymore. Get all your business done as early as possible. Get your players, get the bulk of your players in before pre-season. Gives them more time, especially with how short the pre-season is going to be, how early we're starting the new season. Get them in ASAP. Let them come in, bond, gel their new teammates, learn the new tactics, learn everything they need to learn. So come match day 1, no matter who it was against, we would be ready. And so most of our stuff now, in terms of incomings, is done. In terms of what we're hearing, 2 more, as I say, a winger and a midfielder is what we're apparently looking at now to get sorted. I think if we can get them done, if we can get at least one of them done for the Palace game, and that's like more likely the Tielemans one's going to be the last one if we dealt with like a midfielder and that ilk. Just after the season starts, sorry. If someone said to me that'd be the case, I would have snapped your hand off. I'd send you to Lunapen, but I'd snap your hand off at the same time because, which for so many years now, we've always dragged these transfers. Anyone who do bring, we're dragging them out to like deadline day or whatever, just dragging it. Teeny, we dragged that all summer for going out now. Partey as well, for example. And that's also, I just wanted us to be ready for once, and I think. For what we've actually got it right for one in terms of the incomings, as you say, in terms of outgoings, we're not, as I said earlier, we're not being flimsy on it. We're not just going, oh, you've offered us something, we'll take it now. Like remember we sold Ospina for like a couple of million.
Yeah.
He had like 2 to 3 years of his contract left. We let him go for cheap money. We're now actually saying no. This is what we value our players at. If you don't want to match it, that's okay. We're not going to send them to you though.
Exactly.
I think it's all
yeah.
stemmed from last year with Granit Xhaka because I think Roma was the start of that in terms of because they went for Xhaka. We valued him.
I put it on record. I was pleased with that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pleased we did that at the time. And people were saying, "Oh no, just sell him for what you can get at the time." I said, and he's proven to be worth keeping around. We've seen that now, haven't we? Last season. I totally think that we should do that much more often. We're being seen as an easy touch for far too long, and some of the players that we've let go, like even Ballard, you know. People were raving about the fee we got from Ballard. Oh, it's great for business. But Ballard was one of the best defenders in the Championship last year.
Yeah.
He's young, English. Sorry, not Republic Ireland. Yeah, Northern Ireland, sorry. He's Northern Ireland international and really young, done exceptionally well on loan spells. If he'd have played for someone else, Liverpool, Leicester, I'm telling you now, they would have got 12 million, maybe more, because the way they sell players, and we got apparently £2.5 million for him. Not to be sniffed at, but he's worth a lot more money than that. We need to get better at it. So that's the only gripe still I've got in that sort of area. But I'm going to push on because we've got a lot of really good questions coming in. Thank you so much. Welcome, Kunjan, as well. Got you. Question there ready to ask. Thanks for dropping by. It's great to see you in the chat. Next question. Actually, Melvin, if you're still watching, I've got your question on WhatsApp. I'm going to put that to the first question rolling over to next week on Ryan's channel. That's in the WhatsApp chat because I'm not educated enough to actually answer that right now because I don't know the story. So I need to read into the story and then we can actually do it some justice. So I'll pass that over to next week. But thanks ever so much for the question. It's a really good one. Going in order of questions received. Next one. Just a quick one. I'll show it from Russ. Ryan. Didn't ask me for some reason. Don't know why.
Well, why?
Are you going to buy the pink shirt?
It's coming out. Was it Friday? Isn't it coming out? So, it's a nice shirt. Don't get me wrong, but I'm in no rush. I won't be in no rush to go and get it. But it's a nice shirt. Don't get me wrong. He
may be a bit confused because I put pictures up of the shirt, but it's my youngest that really wanted that one. He said it's like because I think it's Real Madrid had a pink shirt that he had,
might have at some point,
and he wanted the pink Arsenal one as well to match the pink Real Madrid one. So he's got that, but I haven't got it yet. And I like it, but it's not going to be. I'm not going to rush out and get it straight away. Same as you, mate. Thanks a lot for that, though, Russ. Colonel, this is really, really interesting, Colonel. Andrew and Ryan, what's your favourite moment in life that gives you chills to this day? And it doesn't have to be football related, obviously.
No, obviously not.
It's such an interesting question. I mean, I'm going to discount the obvious ones because so many people answer things with obvious ones, like the birth of my children, for example. It's it's unbelievable. You're never going to sort of match those types of moments in lots of circumstances. But I've been quite lucky. When I went travelling around the world for, I think it's about 18 months in the end, and then I went and lived in Sweden for 12 months afterwards. And during that period of time, I had so many good moments day by day by day as I was backpacking around the world, and people that I met and things that I went to see and do. One that jumps out at me as well. A good one was whale watching in New Zealand was amazing because they were massive sperm whales, the ones that are famous for breaching the water with their tails, and massive, big, huge, wide tails. And they go down sort of into the water. And I was out in this really small boat, It's only about 4 or 5 of us. Had to go out about 5 o'clock in the morning, and the tails are going up. It's about 10, 15 foot away, so really close, and they were huge, and the size of about the size of a small, thin sort of house. That's how big the tails were. Right? And then all of a sudden, this one came out of nowhere, and it really virtually touched the boat, and the boat really rocked. Nearly went into the water. It was so close. I could have leant out of the boat, and touched this massive whale's tail with my hand, and that's a moment that will stay with me for life. And on a sort of favourite moment in life, sort of a bad, humorous one, was when I was in India and I got threatened by a man with a gun because I said no to going to sleep with him and his wife.
Oh, bloody hell.
That's a moment that I really laugh about now. Gave me chills a bit at the time. But, that's another moment for a completely different reason that will always stay with me. Have you got anything that comes to mind?
It's a sport. The only one that really comes to mind is a sporting one, but it's when I think now 2003 November, November 2003 when England won the rugby, basically went over to Australia and won the Rugby World Cup. It's just because obviously I was like 2003, so about 12 going on 12 going on 13 a few months later, obviously. But it's just like, again, watching the sport and all that, and we were like the best team in the world at the time in that sport, but that World Cup in particular, from the quarterfinals onwards, we made hard work of getting through to each game. It was like we had Wales, who weren't what they are now, basically, in terms of being a competitive team. We made hard work of that, but we got through. Played France in the semi-final, notoriously rivals to us, always being a vein in our backside back then. Still, we fought our way to get through. Didn't score any tries, but it's penalties. Johnny Wilkinson got us through. And then the final itself, we're up against, it was in Australia, up against the home nation on their turf. And again, we just, defensively, our game was all over the place. We were giving away sloppy fouls, this, that, and the other. But we ground out the result. We dug in. We took no crap, basically. We didn't give up. And it was just, again, as a young lad back then, to see a country, a sport that I'm interested in, go all the way and become the best in the world, actual world champions, was pleasing. It was brilliant, really, because everyone was going for this. Everyone building up to it was going for like the New Zealand's, all like the obvious choices. After 6 months, I was saying, "No, England are going to do it. England are going to do it," because we've built this team from being part timers into a full time team on a full time wage, and they've been through so much adversity going into this World Cup off the field as well, that it just felt like everything was going to come together in this particular World Cup, and it did. I mean, Johnny Wilkinson himself, in that final, that drop goal, he does say he didn't really take it in. He was a young lad back then as well. I think it was like his second World Cup, but he never really appreciated it in the moment. He didn't really take it. He didn't realise what he had done in the moment. And obviously, if he knew in terms of how his career would then pan out with the injuries he had, like 2 months later, his career just went, because he literally just got constantly injured non-stop for the next 4 years. By the time he came back, he wasn't even first choice for the country anymore, and then he tried and digging out for the next World Cup. It was just one World Cup too much. But as a whole, we had flair, we had grit, we had everything you'd want, the perfect balance as well. And so Clive Woodward, the head coach, was doing things like basically things that are normal nowadays in terms of when teams going at half time, he'd make them strip off, get new kits on, clean kit, everything. So psychologically, it messed with their opponent, because they're coming out in their dirty jerseys still, and we're coming out in clean, white, pure kits, and they're thinking, "What the fuck?" And basically things like that messing about their heads. He he hired specialists in certain departments for hand-eye coordination to make them a bit more quicker, a bit more sharper and passing the ball, make the right choices, the right decisions at the right time. But as I say, it just came together. And aside from that, I've never done any traveling. I've never been threatened to be shot for not having a threesome or nothing like that. So I can't really say anything.
No, football-wise or sport-wise, for me, it's got to be 89, Anfield 89. That gave me chills, and it always will do. It's a moment that, I never forget. It's just unbelievable. And just bring Ryan back in.
Yes, sorry about that. The mic went again.
That's all right. No worries. Kunjan's got the next question in there. This is really, really good one, Kunjan, if you're still watching. Thank you. It says, most underrated Arsenal player of all time and currently.
Okay.
There's probably loads that I'm not thinking of, but the first one that comes to mind for all time for me is Paul Davis. I think he was just an outstanding footballer. Never got the recognition he deserved with England. And in today's market, he'd be right up there with players like Thomas Partey, to be honest with you. I think he could do everything that Thomas Partey could do. He's an elegant midfielder, great stride. He's like a not quite as good version as Patrick Vieira. He was outstanding. I just could not understand why he wasn't a fixture in the England midfielder at the time. He got everything really. So him for me. There's probably others that I'm forgetting, but he's the first one that came to mind because I've always thought that. And currently, I would say, by the fans especially, Albert Sambi Lokonga. I think he's got a Rolls-Royce future. I put on Twitter the other day because I just think there's something about the kid. I can feel I could just, there's certain parts of players' game where you can just spot quality. And yes, he's not got the experience or the know-how in the Premier League yet, but you can see that there's a real quality player in there, and I think in a couple of years' time we're going to have a real amazing player on our hands. So I think a lot of the fans are underrating him a massive amount, and he's definitely a good shout, for this, because I see him playing a lot deeper in the future. Like a Thomas Partey type role. But at the moment, because he's so good on the ball and he's good at passing and quick passing.
He's athletic as well.
Very much so. And he's good on the edge of the box. And obviously he ghosted in and did that good header yesterday, or earlier on today rather. But I could see he's an option for the left 8 role that people, we desperately need filling at the moment. And I'm not saying he'll start there week in, week out, but I hope he gets more minutes in the Premier League this year, at least to come on in the last half hour or so. But that's my two. How about you?
I mean, just touching on your comments about Sambi Lokonga, I think I said it numerous times last year, especially the back end of it, and people started criticising him. People need to remember when he came in, the excitement we had about him, because obviously all the Henry, Company, and everyone else, all these ex-players that played Premier League level, seen and saying about him basically, what he could potentially give to Arsenal, not just on an off the field basis, but on the pitch as well, as his career blossoms going forward. And I said, he played we've said it every time. He played too many games for his first season. Last season was only meant to be a handful of games, build him in, ease him in. But because of suspensions and injuries and an AFCON, especially at AFCON in January, he got thrown under the bus massively, in my opinion. Because we had Partey go after AFCON, Granit was coming back from an injury, and then just before he comes back, we've let Ainsley out on loan to Roma, leaving us only with Sambi as an actual natural centre midfielder. And again, he's a young lad. it was a new league, and it was just especially that part of the season, it's just too much to go. Okay, you barely played, but here you go, off you go. You're now the big bad boss of the midfield. Now you've got a boss of the midfield because you're the only natural one we've got, and that's where I criticise Arsenal back then because they didn't do right by him, and that's why I was a stark defender of him, in the sense of he was never meant to have played the amount of games he had played, let alone get thrown under the bus the way he did in that moment back in January, going into February.
Mm.
And
Agree.
again, he's had a good pre-season and all that. Everyone's going to throw at us, but he's had a good pre-season. He's got a good goal last night, well taken goal. Got away from it wasn't hard last night, but he got away from the defenders yesterday in that goal. Got a nice cushioned header off and beat the goalkeeper. And if you want to really see what the club meant to him yesterday, look at his celebration. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
he kissed. He looks at Badge, kissed it 4 times.
That's what Stephen Denham's put in the chat as well. Thanks for watching, Stephen. So Samby loves this club as well. He loves being at Arsenal. Absolutely right. And he was in. I mean, the defending was absolutely shocking for that goal. And you know, cross was from Cedric. Everyone's been saying. Wish Cedric wouldn't cross another ball in his life. But it was a decent cross for once. But he ghosted it. But the main thing was, even though he was completely alone, the defending was shocking. He made that run. He was there. You know, he wasn't sitting back in midfield. He made the run. He was in the box to head it home in the first place. So that's promising in itself. With all the caveats in the world that it was a pre-season friendly, we don't get carried away, blah, blah, blah. But it was... I mean, it was a good lineup that Chelsea put out, and we absolutely thrashed them. You know, and Thomas Tuchel's comments after the game, I tweeted them out earlier on today.
I saw them, yeah.
He does not pull any punches, that guy. That's what I do like about him. He's got his heart on his sleeve. He says it as how it is. He totally threw his players under the bus, basically, on that comment. And he was moaning about how many of them have left, how many of them are still talking about leaving and want to go, and all this sort of stuff. Their heads aren't here because they're talking about wanting to leave. And I mean, he was properly going for it, wasn't
he? Yeah, and this is why when I'm seeing a few YouTube channels doing their early season predictions for next season, like prediction for who's going to finish win the league, and the people are all automatically putting Chelsea in the top 4. Like, what was it? Ben Foster's got Chelsea he's got Man City winning the league. Tottenham, he's got Tottenham finishing second for some reason. He's got Chelsea finishing third and Liverpool finishing fourth. Yeah. But when it comes to Chelsea, everyone's assuming Chelsea are going to continue this trajectory they've had for the last 19 years, and this new ownership, this new regime, as they say, is it going to affect them in the league? Is it going to affect them in general? There's a whole new system, and as you just said. Tuchel's come out and basically thrown his players under the bus. He held no punches last night and said certain players aren't even mentally aren't here. They're looking elsewhere. They're waiting for the big offers to come flooding in. I mean, I was watching the game last night and I saw Azpilicueta and Alonso coming. I was thinking, hang on, I thought their contracts were up. I thought they were going off to Barcelona and things like
that. Exactly. Their contracts are supposed to be there. They must be staying on a week. I've heard no news that they've signed new contracts. No. They must be staying there on a week-to-week basis at the moment.
They've lost Rudiger, they've lost Christensen, and what they've gone and done? They've gone and bought Koulibaly, who's like 33. Spent a lot of money on him as well for 33. But again, I've said this when I met some neighbours of Chelsea as well, and I said this. If Chelsea had signed Koulibaly 4-5 years ago, as an Arsenal fan, I'll be worried. It's now not that. That's not the case. It's 33. I've watched him play against Arsenal under Unai Emery, and he struggled. Yeah, over 2 legs, he struggled.
I wasn't impressed with him on those 2 games. I remember I was podcasting after those legs, and I thought he wasn't impressive at all at that point. But yeah, he's only older now. Only slower.
Yeah, and if you look at that back line, if you assume Azpilicueta and Alonso are going to stay, then yeah. For whatever reason, they're going to somehow, week by week, stay until whenever. Their back line, it's a very old back line. It's very slow, lethargic back line. You've got Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, Koulibaly, and Alonso. and he got a small centre back or wing back in Manning Sarr.
Yeah.
But everyone's automatically assuming, oh, Chelsea be top 4, they'll be fine. Nothing. This ain't gonna. This whole new. This everything's. This ain't gonna affect them really. And still writing us off. And I'm thinking, you know what? Write us off. In terms of Arsenal, write us off. Keep writing us off. Because something I've never really mentioned that. Even when we were a top 4 team, we were getting Champions League season in, season out, the last 3 or 4 years of that, before we fell out. All these, again, the media and these YouTubers are all constantly going, this is the year, Arsenal will finish 5th or lower, they're not going to get Champions League this year. People outside of Arsenal, obviously, are winning for us not to succeed. They are winning for it. I mean, today, we've beaten Chelsea in a pre-season game. It gets a brief mention because Tuchel does a kickoff. That's it. Nothing about Arsenal at all.
No.
That's the state of where we are, where the media is, and how the UK see us as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
As I say, keep writing us off, and then when we prove you wrong, I'm going to come back in and go, I told you fucking so.
Exactly,
And also with Chelsea, I'll go and say, I'll say it now, Chelsea will not get top 4 this season coming.
I'll be very surprised. Yeah, I'll be very, they're in absolute disarray at the moment.
They haven't, not just their back line, they haven't got a natural striker. They're playing wingers in terms of Kai Havertz or Cams and Kai Havertz. As a striker, it's not always going to work. They bought a striker last year. It hasn't worked out. They sent him back to the club they bought him from. They're still paying his fucking wages. But they bought £50 million of Timo Werner a couple of years back. And look how that's panned out. He's now being played as a winger for crying out loud because of his pace. And apparently he wants out of there as well. They've got. Yeah. It doesn't seem as well as talk about Arsenal's transfer policy and our strategy for the last season, last summer, and now this summer. With this I know it's new ownership and all that, this time around for Chelsea, but it doesn't seem to be a strategy. It just seems to be go and spend big money on a name, a known quantity, someone that the fans will know and sort of might jump on board with.
They're going after the players that other clubs are after because their names are in the media, so they think, oh, they must be good. We'll go after them. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, if you look at the players that actually are bringing in, I mean, Sterling, that makes no sense. For me, it doesn't make any sense. There's another
career suicide for him.
And literally, he started last night. I didn't even know he played. Right. I know he started, but he didn't do anything.
I know.
It just makes no sense. They're going back to what they were before Roma came along. Retirement home FC. Marcel, if anyone says the different, Marcel Desailly, end of his career with Chelsea. Boff,
Ruud Gullit.
Dennis Wise, end of his career for Chelsea.
Ruud Gullit.
Wow. They're going back down that route again.
I know they are, yeah.
And I can't wait. I'm loving it.
Yeah. It's going to be good to watch. Just go through some of these comments before we come on to the last couple of questions that we've got. Victoria, absolutely bang on, saying Gilberto was underrated and Winterburn should have played for England more. Totally agree. Absolutely right about Gilberto. And also Melvin said Monreal. Another great shout. Monreal was very much underrated.
Monreal's mentioned quite a bit in chat. I was going to chat now. But yeah, Gilberto, actually looking back, especially in that early 2000 team, he was massive. He was massively underrated by not just the media, but our fan base as a whole. We didn't, as a fan base, we only really realised what he was all about, what he gave to us when he got that big injury.
Russ put, you don't realise how good Gilberto was until he was gone.
Yeah,
that's 100% right. And Tavares had some decent spells, looked good in parts as well. So Stephen and Russ has said that. Hang on a second. Tavares had a great start and was dumped for large portions of the season. No wonder his form dropped off. Absolutely right. Well, welcome to Energetic Man 99. Thank you very much for watching. And Chelsea looked like they will struggle. The only major signing they pulled off was Sterling. Koulibaly is 31 and past his peak. I must admit, when he was saying he was 33, I thought he was 31. Because I read it in the press.
I don't think it's 30, I just can't remember.
No, it's fine. But still, the wrong side of 30 anyway.
Yeah.
We've got 2 more questions that we're going to squeeze in. Victoria says, Should the transfer window only be open during the closed season? Would that be better or worse for the manager? He would know as the season kicks off what his players he has. Now, obviously, we had that in England in the Premier League for a little while, didn't we?
Mm.
It would only work if all of Europe had agreed to it. So all the other major leagues were in sync with it, but they obviously didn't agree to it, and we went on our own, and it was a nightmare when we were on our own. So I really would like that to happen, to be the case, but everyone would have to agree to it, and that's the way I would see it, basically. That's a short answer, basically, Victoria. I really think it should be, but not just for England.
Yeah, as you say, I think this is something that UEFA and FIFA have got to come together and bring in themselves with the respective clubs around the world and Europe, etc. Because, as you say, we briefly did it before the pandemic for a couple of years, and it was a pain in the arse because as you say, we knew what we were working with in one sense, in terms of we couldn't bring anyone else from the country, from our own league, and throughout Europe. But from a certain point, after that, all these European clubs could still poach our players still. So
Exactly, yeah.
It was just a pain in the arse, and this is, I think, for us to go back down that route again, like you say, it has to come from the top now. The ball has to come in from the top, no matter what the clubs, Real Madrid and all that say. They say no, tough. This is the new rule. Don't like it, tough.
I don't see the benefit at all of it going on till September. I think it's just ridiculous.
Just literally have it open till let's say one window from literally the day after the Champions League final, so whatever that date it may be, all the way through to like 2 days before the season starts, be it the Championship or whatever. 2 days before that, the league, any elite football starts in Europe, that's the cut-off point, and that's it. No windows in January either. Unless it's like a goalkeeping situation where all your goalkeepers are injured and you need an emergency backup to be brought in, then you can deal with that. You can sort something out that way. Aside from that, no, because again, it's a massive distraction, especially in that even though it's a 1 month period in the winter, it's still a major distraction for all the clubs, not just for us, all clubs in general, because they're not really managed. If you've got managers or head coaches, they've got one eye on the window, but one eye on the team. They're not really fully focused where they should be on the league or whatever, respectively. Whereas if you don't have that window in January, they're fully focused. Again, it's to say they know what they're working with, and they're going to, as I say, the emergency backup brought in, whatever. But they know what they're working with, and they don't have to then worry day by day. Is the club doing what I've asked them to do, getting this player in, that player in, or that player out? It's just pure and simply no messing about. It's just literally the summer window, and that's it. Because the whole reason this was brought in as well, because we had in the early 2000s, players moving from club to club throughout the season, just randomly whenever they want. Robbie Fowler moved from Liverpool to Leeds in like October, November time.
It used to be like that when I was younger. There weren't no transfer windows.
No,
absolutely.
It's just a complete shambolic disaster, really. Hence why they didn't brought in these things. But I think it's got to a point now where even the winter window is outdated now. Not just in England, but in general. It's too much of a nuisance. And if I've been brutally honest here, I know we brought Odegaard in on loan, but in terms of permanent signings here, for any club, what players are out there in January that you can get in that can actually improve your squad? That's good enough to improve your squad there and then.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I think, would it not make more sense for January window to only be for loans?
Yeah, maybe.
I think it would.
Yeah. But as I say,
so clubs are contracted to players are contracted to a certain club for the whole season, regardless. Apart from January, where you can loan players only. I think that's the way to go, really. But I think it has to. No manager I can see would want to have to start dealing with comings and goings after the season starts. It's not a benefit to anyone. whatsoever. I cannot see a single manager being happy with that. I think they would all be happy with it closing before the season starts. So I just don't see the point. Anyway, we'll move on to the last question. But before I do that, Melvin said, going back to the Chelsea chat, they'll sign Willian next. And Russ Morgan added, and David Luiz, which is absolutely hilarious.
That's the hope.
Now, last question is from Stephen on WhatsApp. So, does Arteta get enough credit from the media and fans for the work he has done getting rid of players who were not playing well or causing issues within the dressing room and rebuilding the squad with a great team spirit? Absolutely not, in my opinion. He gets no credit. Does he get any credit at all from anyone in the media? You have to hunt for it. It doesn't come.
You literally have to get breadcrumbs if you're lucky as a fan.
Yeah, I just don't think he gets any credit for anything that he's done.
It's like I said a few minutes ago. We've beaten Chelsea early hours of this morning, obviously, or yesterday for people having that over the States. And here in the UK, apart from where Tuchel's had a kick-off afterwards about what we've mentioned already, they mentioned the scoreline and that was it. And sort of moved on.
It's mostly about how bad Chelsea are.
If it had been the other way around and Chelsea had battered us like we done to Chelsea last night, they'd be rubbing it down our throats. And that's the annoying thing. You'd have Talk Sport tomorrow morning on a breakfast show with Laura Woods and all that, Jamie O'Harvey going, see, I told you. That fucking Rory guy, the fucking Chelsea fan, him going, see, I told you, Arsenal are way off the mark. Because he's another one that's going, oh, you know what? They're going to step. With all the signings we've made, you've got people like Rory and others, there's others out there saying in the media, we've gone backwards. How have we gone backwards? We've brought in quality signings. I don't care what anyone says, you've mentioned it before. Jesus, for the money we've paid for him, it's a bargain. It's pure and simply.
Forget the length of contract. The quality of play you're getting, it is an absolute bargain. Same with Zinchenko.
Zinchenko and Jesus have won 4 to 5 League Cups, an FA Cup, 4 league titles, a Champions League final. They didn't win it, but they've been there. They've tasted it. They want to get back there at some point and actually get over that line with who they're playing for, and have that accolade to their name, be it for Man City or for Arsenal, respectively. We're bringing in winners, for God's sake. How are we going backwards?
That's Zinchenko said in his interview. I know that, a lot of players say a lot of things in interviews, but he seemed really genuine when he said the only manager I probably would have left to come work for is Arteta, the second manager I would want to go to. And also I said this last week, you cannot underestimate these players leaving Man City to come to play for Arsenal under Arteta. It's a massive thing. They both know him from before, and they've both left the security of guaranteed trophies season in, season out, working under Pep Guardiola. They didn't have to do that, but they've left to come and work under Mikel Arteta, who they've known from before. That's a massive sign for me that the guy knows what he's doing.
And we want to talk about media and Arteta. Arteta did a full season, not half a season or quarter of a season. He did a full season last year. He had a bad start, admittedly, yes, but he did a full season. There's 2 points of top 4 because it just fell away in the way it did. Conte didn't come in until November, early to mid-November. He didn't do a full season, yet he's getting praised like he's the Messiah.
Yeah, I know.
And it does my head in. It's like, what is it with these certain clubs that the media have to sort of praise and get on their knees and kiss their feet and all that? It does do my head in. And yet Arteta's done something with not only is he the youngest manager in the league last season, but the youngest squad in the league, and don't care what anyone says, we overachieved and where we finished, and we should have finished higher if it weren't for lack of experience. And I think with the experience we've brought in now, and looking to bring in more players, a couple more players before the window closes, we've built. We're looking to go forward. We're not just going over back in. This is another thing of mine was at the end of last season was I want to see in this window, is it a case of we're back in Europe now, feet up, okay, we're back in Europe. Let's see what happens. Basically, we've got 2 bites at the cherry now for the Champions League, and from what I'm seeing, fifth isn't being back in Europe in general. Isn't just the end goal for them. They want to go forward and achieve as much as humanly possible with this team. This is a squad and a team that we're building that's hopefully, touch wood, going to be around for at least the next 6 to 7 years, because they're so young that duration there can be achievable.
Mm.
And by then, as you say, the Klopps and the Peps of this world would have gone on and left their respective clubs that they're at the moment. And maybe by then we can actually start competing and maybe win the odd league title. And by then, look, I honestly believe we'll be top. Going by what we did last season and what we've had in this window, I'm going to say it now. I do believe we'll be top 4 this coming season. We'll finish in the top 4.
I'm happy
with
to
that, I think with that, then things will grow in expectation, and the next thing to grow as a squad and as a club will be to start competing for major honours.
I think we will win the title under Mikel Arteta. I'm happy to put my neck out on the line and say, under Arteta's reign, in the not too distant future, we will win the title. I mean, it cannot carry on forever and ever with Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. It's going to end at some point. He's going to move on at some point. They're going to have to go through a bit of transition. Yeah. Same with Liverpool. Their players are going to change. They're not going to have the right formulas all the time. They're not going to be an amazing force all the time because football is cyclical. I think our cycle will come with this group of players and other ones that will add to it at some point, and we will click, and everyone will be on form in the prime of their career at the same time under this Mikel Arteta reign. Now, I do think we will win the title. I'm not saying it's going to be within the next two seasons. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I think the team is young enough, like you've just been talking about, and skilled and quality enough for it to happen. With the addition continuing, I'm really confident of that. I really am.
So in terms of winning a league title, as you say, I think it all depends on where we say. If I'm right in what I'm saying, it comes true that we do get top 4 this coming season. I could see us within even the following season or the season afterwards, within 2 seasons of us being back in being back in that top 4, us actually winning the title, if not getting close to it, and winning the following year. I
think so. I'll probably get laughed out the street, but I'm happy to say that I'm really confident he's building something special.
Because
I really am.
The main thing is, apart from what we've said about the recruitment so far, a major thing is we're bringing in these players that are coming in, young, hungry. They want to win things at Arsenal. They want to achieve everything they can possibly can at Arsenal. When did the last time that happened? In terms of a manager coming in, and a manager at Arsenal comes into Arsenal out of the blue, wasn't the favourite, comes in, tears up everything, and goes, right, you got X amount of weeks to prove yourself. If not, there's the door, and went out and brought in players from lower league opposition in terms of either in the same league or Division 1 back then, the Division 2, sorry. And built a team of young, hungry players. Oh, all right, that's right. I know it's different, obviously, money and all that nowadays, but George Graham did that. He came in, tore up everything, and basically all the Graham Richters of its world and Charlie Nicholas, over the course of time, were outed from the club. And basically, in that time frame, he got players he wanted. He scouted players via newspapers, basically, the local papers, the United Winterburns, Lee Dixons, and Steve Bowles, etc. He scouted them via that route and went and said, this is where I want to be. Do you want to be a part of it? I want to get this club back to where he believed it belonged. And I think this is what Arteta and a club are now doing now. Is that they're saying the right things to the players. They're saying the right things in the sense of, no, we're not just going to be a club that just wants to be in European football, but get back into Champions League, and that'd be the end goal. We actually want to be a successful club in terms of winning the major trophies, the Champions League, the Premier League titles, etc. We don't want to be a team that just makes up the numbers in all these competitions. We actually want to be where Liverpool are now. Because again, look at Liverpool Klopp. when he came in, look at the mess they were in to where they are now. I think
Exactly.
by the time they'd won the Champions League under Klopp, only three players he inherited remained.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great place to end it with that last question. There's a couple more comments that came in from Victoria. I thought at first maybe the job was a big step too soon for Arteta. He's been given time and has fully grown into the role. Fully Arteta in. Totally agree. Really well put. And Russ said, there were times that I'm sure all of us wanted Arteta out, but this is his side now. No excuses. And I don't think he would give any excuses. Yeah, I say it's a great place to finish it off on that positivity there. And thank you ever so much for everyone that I've mentioned throughout the show. Mentioned you all in the chat. I haven't got to go through you all again. But it's really well appreciated that for all your questions, and everyone that was on came through on the WhatsApp group as well. Please keep them coming in for next week. It was they're getting better and better as each show progresses. The questions, it's really good for me and Ryan to talk about it. As I say, it could be about anything. It doesn't have to be about football. Basically, we don't. When we ask the questions, everyone, I just want to put it out. We know that we don't know everything about anything. We're not the world famous pundits and educated to the highest degree level. We know we don't know about anything. What we want it to be like is like we're all sitting in a pub and we're just having a pub chat, just chewing the fat. That's what we need to get this sort of show feeling like. That when you're down a pub with your mates, you talk about anything and everything. So ask your questions like that. Like we are a bunch of mates. Like we do. We are a big pint. And we're just sharing a couple of hours down the pub. That's the sort of thing we need to go for with this show. But yeah, thanks ever so much. Please like the show, this stream before you leave. That'd be really appreciated. Don't ask for it enough, but it does really help, as you all know. And subscribe if you haven't done so already, so that you can come along and watch us next week. And with Russ's channel as well, he's on obviously the Mr. Arsenal podcast, and that's where we'll be next week. And I'm sure you all know that. Sure you will subscribe. But if you haven't, go over there and subscribe to that channel as well. But once again, Russ, thank you very much for your time. Great pleasure as always. And have you got anything coming up in the next few days before now and next Sunday?
Tomorrow on my channel, we've got the rearranged Who Am I quiz, and Mike hosting, obviously doing his back his quiz for us this summer. I don't think you'll be able to. You're not able to make it, are you?
I'm not. I'm afraid I'm out tomorrow night. Otherwise, I'll be there. But yeah, I've got plans to be out, unfortunately, for the evening.
So I think we've got Melvin. We've got Melvin, his mate, Danny from the Burkamp Wonderland, Liam, who's won it, been on before and won it. I think there's a few others. There's a couple others as well, and we're waiting for official confirmations from Lee judges, because he's currently flying back from Orlando as we speak. So depending on how he feels tomorrow in terms of jet lag, he's currently on the list. But obviously, if he doesn't feel too good, he'll let me know. But as it stands, he's on. And I think I can't remember the full lineup, but yeah. Plus, you got me as well. And then on Tuesday,
we're giving everyone else a chance to win it, because I'm obviously not going to be on it.
Yeah. So the following week. Now, on Tuesday, obviously, the semi-final. First of the two semi-finals this week. But obviously, England are in it, so we're going to cover that on Tuesday against Sweden. Win that, we go to Wembley.
I'll be there for that. Watching that, that'd be great. I'm looking forward to that.
And I'll send you a link for that, and obviously you can join me.
Yeah,
we can go through the stress together.
Yeah, definitely.
Looking at this final four, I'd rather be on our side of the draw than the never side with Germany or France. I'd rather have one of them in the final.
Yeah, they're both going to be formidable opposition. Well, so Sweden, to be honest with you, they're going to be a real tough nut to crack. But it's been a really enjoyable Euros. I've enjoyed it all. It's been a good tournament. So,
I mean, I watched. I was just thinking that I was watching the Holland game last night against France, and Holland took time to get into it, but it was weird for Holland. It was weird when watching Holland last night, because they were the defending champions, but it was just like the tactic was to soak up the pressure and try and counter attack, and Vivian was just getting nothing in terms
She
of.
she was really.
And she's kicking off as well about the
non-existent.
over it, the tactics and all that. So that's not going down with the manager either.
But when she had the ball, she was terrible.
Yeah, but she's always had to push.
She couldn't string. She couldn't do a 10-yard pass. She couldn't do a 5-yard pass. And
Again,
she looked half a yard off the pace, didn't she?
And another thing I didn't get last night. People that know our channel and all that. No, I'm a big fan of her. Danielle Van der Donk got taken off. It's like one of the best players. Still, no one's winning or losing. You need to get through, and you're just like, oh, my best player, my best playmaker, Champions League winner as well. Off you come. It just made no sense.
I was the same when Serena took off Beth Mead in the 57th minute. I was livid.
I don't know if you saw the stream back or anything. When that happened, I lost the plot.
I was livid, honestly. Obviously, it worked out really well, but she could have taken off.
It could have backfired massively, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll talk about that on Tuesday.
Yeah, talk about Tuesday in terms of, and then obviously after Tuesday, I'm trying to think now. And then obviously Saturday will be you at the game anyway. So Gary and Tony will be co-hosting the watch along for that on my channel as well. I might try and fit a podcast in for Thursday, maybe, just a little bit of catch up and get ready for the new season and all that. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, it's all good.
Well, I'm looking at doing a season launch for Tuesday myself. Watch this space. It'll be the 4th season of From Dial Square to Where, so it'll be the first one I'm counting for season 4. So if you're available for that, then please let me know, mate. And hopefully see you on there. And anyone else that's watching or listening to this, if you want to jump on, give me a DM on Twitter and we'll see if we can sort something out. Yeah. But anyway, we'll leave it there. Thanks a lot for everyone, and we'll see you all in the next time. Bye-bye.